a parent's worst nightmare. Jonathan says he knew his 17-year-old son, also named Jonathan, was being bullied at school, but he never imagined his child's life would end over a vape pen and some earbuds.
17-year-old Jonathan Lewis died after several days on life support.
We had a student that was jumped, bleeding from the head and nose, and there was a nurse that was on scene starting CPR. Juvie was unconscious.
He was trying to protect one of his smaller friends, and three of them kind of attacked him, and he defended himself, and they couldn't beat him up, so the rest of the group joined in.
Juvie is most likely going to die from this.
It's just like absolute lunacy. You know, it just looks like these kids have gone totally mad.
Oh my God. Jonathan, you've seen the video of that fight, correct?
I've seen a few seconds of it. I couldn't really watch any of it. It really is damaging to my heart and my mind to even watch it.
I can't even imagine. And that was not the only day that your son was bullied, correct?
Yes, there was several other instances. Obviously, this is a large group that gets together all the time, and they're all over the school. I mean, the schools are not that large, and they had been stealing stuff from him and his small friend, and this was occurred. There was several instances that were known that had occurred within the weeks prior.
And had he talked to you about this?
We had talked on the phone several times in the weeks prior, and I knew something was wrong. I kept messaging him and his mom and telling him that he needs to leave Las Vegas and come live with me. And I called CPS, and nobody would listen to me.
So what happened, as far as you know, is that this was an after-school incident, and his friend, who was smaller, had something taken of his, something stolen.
Yes, it's alleged, but I believe that there's also evidence that the detectives have that they know. That's what they have told me.
4 students that were involved in this situation have been arrested and charged with murder, correct? There are others that are being looked at and will likely be charged as well.
Yes, 10 of them have been arrested.
Okay, 10 have been arrested now?
Yes, I believe it's 10.
And according to police, they will be charged and tried as adults. So people get a sense of what happened, and I know you don't want to look at this, and we're gonna play this now, so people get a sense of the violence. And if you want to look away at this point, this is a good time to close your eyes. You can see this is like a pack of wild animals here. Obviously, his son is on the ground. He's being kicked, he's being punched, and he wound up in the hospital and died 6 days later of multiple blunt force trauma to the head. As parents, we expect when we send our kids to school alive in the morning, we expect them to come home alive at the end of the day. We expect them to be safe in school. We expect the administrators of the school to communicate to parents, to have an awareness if there is a gang of thugs moving about the school and intimidating others. Now, the school says, well, this happened off the school grounds. This was yards off of the school boundary. That's my understanding. Is that yours?
Yes, that is the understanding. However, I mean, this group of kids is known to be doing these type of activities around the school. And the school obviously knows that these kind of events are occurring. You know, they even knew all of these children, and they brought them in for questioning after this occurred. So they obviously knew who these people were.
And they made a statement. They said, although the incident occurred off campus and after school hours, the student was brought back to campus, and our committed staff members who were still on campus immediately rendered aid until first responders arrived. What did you think the purpose of that statement was?
They don't want to hold themselves accountable. They don't want to reflect and analyze what could be done better based upon the cost, based upon the monstrosity of the issue. So they just send out a blanket statement to the media absolving themselves in any way, shape, or form that they can.
And when you found out about this, that your son was in the hospital, what was your first reaction?
I just dropped to the ground and was shaking so badly I couldn't even function. And, I was just unimaginably ripped apart into a million pieces in my heart and in my mind. We sat in the hospital with him and just held his hand and just did everything we could to just hold hope. And, I just sat there and I had to be told by a doctor that my son was brain dead.
When you realized it was over and that he had in fact been kicked and beaten to death, take me through that moment.
As a human being, I felt just overwhelming sadness for humanity. And as a dad, I don't ever get to hug my son again, and I don't get to help him to explore life and expand himself and develop himself and be able to ever go hang out with him. Or it was just obviously broke my heart. Yeah, it was just brutal, unimaginably brutal.
Well, I'm going to ask you a hard question that I know you've asked yourself, which is why I'm going to ask it to you now. Do you feel like you failed your boy?
Nobody would do anything. They're like, well, what evidence do you have? Like, I can sense it. I can sense it. I'm talking to my son and I know something's wrong.
Are you ready to jumpstart your health in 2025? Lumen can help. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It measures your metabolism through your breath and via the app tells you whether you're burning fat or carbs. It then provides tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. Start your day by breathing into Lumen to check your metabolism. Based on your results, it gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the day. You can also use it before and after meals or workouts to understand how your body responds in real time. Your metabolism is your body's engine. Optimizing it can lead to better energy, easier weight management, improved fitness, and more. Take the next step towards better health. Visit lumen.me/Dr. Phil for 20% off your Lumen. Do you feel like you failed your boy?
I did everything I could for my son. I mean, there's no way that we could ever say that we, as parents, I feel like we're constantly striving to do more for our children. We're constantly, trying to develop ourselves. We're constantly trying to be there more and engage more and give more and develop ourselves more and lead by example more. But there is absolutely nothing that you could possibly ever do. When they're out there, when the community has developed itself into this state where we have apathy and where violence and domination is promoted by the collective and by our so-called leaders, and that's what they have to walk into every day, there's nothing you can do. There's literally, you're totally helpless. I on a consistent basis, day in, day out, stress over my children's safety. And you try everything you can. You try working with other people. I try contacting CPS. Nobody would do anything. They're like, well, what evidence do you have? Like, I can sense it. I'm talking to my son and I know something's wrong. I know something's deeply, deeply wrong. And he doesn't want to tell me everything because he's a strong, proud young man and he wants to, handle his own life, which is good. And I taught my son to be loving and kind and respectful, and that those are the great strengths of a warrior. I have the last text message I had with me and my son was, we were talking about how if you have love in your life, you have everything. And at 17 years old, my son understood that. He messaged me back and he's like, yeah, Dad, I'm realizing that more and more, that if you have love, you have everything. What more can any of us do when this is the state of our society? On a consistent basis, our children just are being bombarded with toxic, horrific domination, violence. On a consistent basis, we're just allowing all of our leaders to say that all the problems should be solved with violence and that there's no other way to be able to promote any other sense of community other than that we have to just control everybody and everybody has to be inoculated and nobody can have their natural state of elevation, including inside of their immunological structure. Like this is a problem that goes from the very root of our entire existence all the way through to our psyche. Like there's not one part that is left unhinged.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that I know how you feel because I can't say that. I have 2 boys. Robin and I have 2 sons. And if you haven't lost a child, I can't look you in the eye, dad to dad, and tell you I know how you feel because I don't. But I have to disagree with you. You say there's nothing more you could do, but there is more that we can do. You use the word collective. As a community, as a country, as a collective consciousness, we have to fight back against this. We have to stand up and fight for the soul of America. We have to stand up and fight together against this. We've got these acts of violence going on around this country. We have them going on in our schools and on the streets. And together we can stand up and fight back against this. I mean, do y'all agree with that? I mean, we've got to stand up and do something about this. We cannot allow this to go on. We've got courts that aren't holding people accountable. We've got prosecutors that aren't prosecuting violent criminals. We've got judges that are putting them back on the streets. And we've got to be willing to step up and say enough is enough and too much is too much. And we're going to protect our children. We're going to protect our families. And the only way we're going to do that is if we raise our collective voices to say enough is enough and too much is too much. And when you have come here and you've lost a son like this, then people have to feel that pain and share that with you and stand with you in this fight.
I completely agree with you. I can't do it on my own, but we can do it together. And that's why I'm creating this organization, the Love Humanity Movement, for my son, like based upon that last message I sent him. Because I come from a warrior class family. Like we're a warrior culture. And it's okay to have warriors, but we need to have healthy warriors. We need to be able to teach them to protect and to be loving and kind, not to be violent, not to promote sadistic behavior. And we can only do that together by showing them the strength of what a community can be. When these children see what compassion is in action, when they see what empathy is in action, when 100 or 1,000 people get together and they work together to do some actual good for the community, create systems of working together that when they leave the school, there's people that know about it and they can communicate with one another. When there's parental platforms, that there's mediation between parents that don't work well together. And when we're actually teaching our children that we care about them by actually building like healing arts centers and community programs that promote positive media and have positive media platforms. Like it's very clear, like Newman, for instance, he said very clearly, like the mob mentality is clearly known in the state of psychology, and that it could very easily be a variant of what positive or negative.
Now, there's no question about that.